you staying around. I guess some of our earlier speakers got pretty technical and very deep into the solution space. I will provide a lighter talk introducing first the domain I apply data science in, and then gradually we'll get into where we deploy advanced methodology. Although I am a fairly technical person and I lead the data science team, I truly believe to create value-adding solutions, you do need to understand the domain that you're trying to create a solution in quite well. Otherwise, you are not that much better than a auto ML AI solution that a business user can plug in and use. The true value add lies in understanding the use cases deeply, doing feature engineering and solution design that couple very well with the solution space. So I myself is lead the data science team in client platform within Blackrock. So we provide data science solutions for, in theory, all the sales force within Blackrock. There are thousands of people engaging in some form of sales within Blackrock. People probably have heard of Blackrock's name because we're the world's largest asset manager. I think at peak time we have over $1 trillion under asset under management. Of course, that value fluctuates with the overall asset prices, but it's still requiring a lot of sales team to support. So you might be familiar with the Blackrock asset management offerings, but people are not very familiar with what salespeople do in this space. So our salespeople's role are more equivalent to sales in wholesale setting. We don't directly sell asset management products to individuals. It's more towards institutions and asset managers. So we also, the salespeople, their role are decoupled from the product solution, or it's advancing itself. Okay, let me roll back. So if you think of the products these salespeople carry, it would be various financial instruments, mutual funds, electronic traded funds, alternative assets, currencies, a wide range of solutions, not to mention also Aladdin, which is a software product. So they do not do alpha generation or try to improve the quality of the product per se. They take those as given, and they try to match them well with clients' needs. So we can explore a little more on what type of external factors that would impact their job, and then we'll talk about the composition of different clients. So unlike Amazon, who is trying to sell pretty much everything under the sun, or if you sell electronics, refrigerators like Home Depot, your product demand probably don't get fluctuated with so many factors as in financial space. Maybe the sale of AC fluctuates with how hot the summer is, but the factors are limited. As opposed to the financial product, if you see the equity product demand, it definitely have to do with rates, it have to do with inflation, it have to do with regulation, and also moments like ESG and climate change and people's investment preferences. So all kinds of world events impact clients' demand on financial instruments, and the salespeople need to be very on top of what is happening on the market. Okay. Not sure. Okay, so let's talk about the nature of the clients sales team need to deal with, aside from following up with what's happening on the market. So we do not sell directly to individuals, but when it comes to clients, there are still a wide range of different institutions, and wealth clients in US it will be financial advisors. That if you are a high net worth individual or you have assets to manage or you want tax consulting on your asset, you would go to a financial advisor. And some of the large financial advisors manage billions of dollars in their house as well. So those would be the clients of our sales team. where does AI ML come into play? Because if you think of salespeople, especially the B2B salespeople, a lot of their effort is on navigating client institution, understanding who is the decision maker, understanding the concern of decision maker, and then service out the most suitable product to them. So it's very much of a qualitative information gathering, relationship building, and rely on salespeople's crafts as well as intuition. So you would think data science have a difficulty adding value. Unlike everyone can imagine how B2C business like credit card issuer or even mortgage loan issuer, how they can leverage data science. So here we believe the value add is still in exploring large amount of data. Institutional clients, they are complex on their own, but wealth clients, they are definitely larger in number. So in US, there are about 400,000 financial advisors. The ones our sales team cover probably about 40,000. So when allocated to each salesperson, you're still covering somewhere between 250 and 1,000 financial advisors. So if you divide that by the number of days in a year, you can only call single-digit number of clients per day. And which of those should you call on any given day? And if you call them, what product are you going to recommend? And on what theme are you carrying? So that is a real decision salespeople have to make. And you want it to be strategic rather than you just call your clients in order, or whichever client has recently withdrawn, you call them, or some other random trigger. So there are definitely room to use data insights to guide your client contact. And when they decide which client to contact, data science can also help surface the right content. So we were told by legal and compliance that we need to stay high level, so I'm going to cite some industry tips on the typical opportunities data science can add. But I think most of these are true. We can find corresponding opportunities within asset management. So this flowchart follows the sequence of sales, starting from exploring prospects. Usually salespeople start with a list of warm or potential clients that they will call. Hopefully those are more than warm, otherwise you will be like cold calling, which is very depressing. After you find the right prospect, you also, as a sales organization, need to worry about how to arrange your sales team to have them have the optimal coverage. Is it by geographic allocation? Is it by product line? Is it by expertise of the salespeople? Is it a team effort? Is it individual effort? And how do you incentivize salespeople? Even though on the surface, their work result is very obvious, how much new sales they made. But as we mentioned, the environment salespeople operate in has all kinds of factors. The market return changes, the product performance changes. A lot of things are beyond salespeople's control. You could be an excellent salesperson, but your client just withdrew a lot of money. Should you be penalized? So peeling out the part attributable to the salesperson in the greater scheme of measurable asset flows is not a trivial question. Most of the sales management haven't figured that out. So if you don't have a perfect measurement on how well your salespeople have brought in the flow, how can you compensate them? And that also have to do with territory allocation management. Because if you happen to be given high-value clients or high-growing clients, maybe you don't have to do much and you just get a lot of inflow under your name. Maybe that's not fair to other salespeople who didn't get as good clients. So all of these have science to it, even though maybe none of the sales team are doing perfectly. Also, the pipeline management and forecasting, it matters to financial budgeting. It also matters to incentive setting. Every year when we set budget, the sales management want to have it as an aspirational goal that you want to have a prediction on how much you can sell, but also set it a little higher because there are a lot of subjective motivation factor to the sales craft. So if you really inspire people, maybe they will exceed your expectations. But if you set it too high, then people are perpetually falling behind the target, then they don't feel that great. And also the management will be disappointed if you don't hit your goal. So all of these are pretty complex, but have a scientific component to it. Also coming back to coming out from the internal management to the true value-adding opportunities. So when you already have a captured set of clients, you also want to cross-sell and upsell to them. So in asset management, once your client buy into some of your instruments, as long as they don't take it out, you'll keep collecting fees. But many times the clients can do trading on their own. They make independent decisions. They can increase their allocation or decrease their allocation independent from you. They don't have to go through you, and usually they're not long-term contract to bind them in. So it's a very fluid situation that you have to constantly pay attention to. And if some clients do significant withdrawals, hopefully you can predict. And if they cannot be convinced to keep the money in that instrument, maybe you can try to convince them to put the money into other instruments that the same organization offers. So we want the client loyalty and long-term relationship building rather than transactional relationship, that they only buy into one instrument. And as soon as the wind changes or the instrument doesn't perform well, they leave us. So that's not what we want. The last part where dynamic pricing, dynamic deal scoring might be used more in other industries. I think in financial services, the fees are pretty set. Salespeople don't have freedom to change them on the fly. But we will talk about the A/B testing use case. Okay. So this page, again, represents the industry summary of where the easy to implement and high business value opportunities are, and where are more challenging in terms of implementation or justifying value. With the large language models, I think some of these things get reordered because historically it's easier to tackle the numeric things that is easily quantifiable, but qualitative things, especially when it comes to managing relationship, it is harder to tackle, but that is changing. Yeah, so we will talk about some real use cases, but before that, I think it's helpful for any true data scientist to know what data is available and we use day to day, because it really matters to the solution making. You're pretty much constrained to what data you have available. You usually can do cooking on top of the data, but you cannot create data when it's not there as data scientists. So we often, this is actually similar to any CRM area where we have client data, we have sales and client interaction data, and we have product data. But the client data changes all the time. They have holdings and they have flows, and that often come from the third party. The sales and client interaction sometimes is through human interaction that would be manually logged by salespeople into the CRM system. And again, we're relying on people's practice consistencies, which is often challenging. You can make your CRM system very complicated to capture each and everything sales management want to capture. But at the end of the day, if it's pure admin task, you can bet salespeople don't want to do it. So you'll have the fields, but most of them are empty. So it's not that helpful. But at least it creates a consistent framework to track the activities so that data scientists can analyze later. And a separate set of information is about product and market. For the data scientists like us, is less useful because the market is the same no matter what product you're talking about. The products are also the same no matter which client you're talking about. So they are time series and they are rich and they are trackable on a daily basis, but it doesn't tell you which client would prefer what product. So the dimensionality of each of the data is different. And it's critical that we understand all of them and bring them together. So just talk a little bit of how in practice the data in this space come together. So the holdings and flow data, if we directly sell the product to clients, maybe it's tracked through our internal system. But a lot of times, as this graph shows, the client's information comes from third-party data sources. So we have to subscribe to them, we have to have a pipeline to ingest them, and those data would come to a database where the CRM system sits on top of. The CRM system mostly take the responsibility of surfacing the data to sales and sales management so that every client they interact with, they can see what is happening to the client. Client holdings, client flows, recent conversation salespeople have with clients, or their digital and marketing activities. So sometimes they can't easily access all of these. It's a matter of engineering effort, pipeline building, that is definitely critical. There is a separate branch of content management, as you can see. So Blackrock, as a thought leader, create a lot of content of our own. So their market research, their product summary, each product has prospectus, quarterly or monthly. There are opinion pieces the company produce. On top of it, sales would create a lot of talking points in form of decks. So all of those need management in some way so that if you were to talk to a client about a particular product or particular market situation, you can pull up the right information. And some are approved to share with clients. Separately, there are portfolio data. So again, some of the portfolio information are tracked internally, but some are tracked through third party. That again, you have to integrate. So for data scientists to create magic, all the data ecosystem need to perform quite well. And we will work on top of all this and understand the nuances. So from here onwards, we're actually going to talk about one data science use case that our team lead insists we present so that we're not all high level. So this is a use case that utilizes both machine learning as well as experimentation. I would say machine learning, if you are practicing data scientist, is nothing new. It's probably quite obvious. But experimentation is not very commonly seen in the implementation of data science models. And it is even rarer to see in sales context. Even our marketing partner or many of the sales team we see is purely an exercise of convincing the management to adopt your model. How to quantify the results is quite subjective. But in this case, we are fortunate enough to have a very scientific-minded team leader who insists on measuring the impact in a scientific way through experimentation. So the high-level problem is because our US Wealth advisory sales team are responsible to cover about 40,000 financial advisors. Those are picked based on their size and the potential for growth. We aim to have one conversation per quarter with each of the advisors, but a pretty high percentage of them do not have even one conversation with us per year. In some cases, it's because we have a change of sales coverage or the sales team got too busy and couldn't contact them. In other cases, some advisors don't want to pick our call. So in 1 year, our sales COO organization decided, let's do a drive to ensure all the financial advisors we deem worth contacting get at least one call. So they have a campaign about engaging and engaged. So they draw up the list of all the financial advisors who didn't have a single conversation in the prior year, and make the salespeople cover these people to try them every month. So over the course of a year, they should have been contacted at least 12 times until they have one breakthrough. So we come in at about September, I think. In the initial drawn list, there are some that get activities, but still a fairly high percentage didn't get any breakthroughs in spite of repeated calls. Of course, the sales team didn't religiously stick to the COO list. Some of them still have other priorities, so they didn't make the attempt. So our team actually built a machine learning model looking at the historical data about attempts and success rate and what advisors have in holdings and their digital interaction, and made a predictive model to suggest at a given month which list of advisors you should contact. So it's a matter of essentially which advisors are under contacted and which have shown recent interest towards our product. So it's quite intuitive. You can imagine if you have contacted this person 10 times in the last year and you don't have breakthrough, chances are they don't want to talk to you. So you want to pick those that somehow slipped through and didn't get contact. Especially if whenever in the history you contact them, they did pick up. And if they had digital interaction with websites or attend webinar or reacting to some marketing promotions, that means they have interest. And if you contact them, maybe they will talk to you. So those are like sharply value indicators from machine learning model. But those are the main drivers that make sense. We launched them in a pilot run to, we launched about 400 predictive next best actions through the CRM system for one segment of financial advisors. And we split the potential into treatment and control. So among the top modeling predicted financial advisors that will react well, we purposely hold a certain percentage that also are highly predicted by the model, but wait. So I think, okay, so we have multiple fold, we have the testing of the model, but we also have baseline where the salespeople are just instructed to reach out as they usually would. So this design tests the efficacy of predictive model to see whether they pick the right advisor, and I think we have a separate testing on whether outreaching help. So through the analysis of the experimentation, we found the predictive model does provide lift 2.2 times lift to the response rate of the financial advisor. And if you look at the follow-up cost, because sometimes when they do one pickup, it doesn't mean they have true interest towards our product, but if they have subsequent follow-up calls, that means they really clicked on something and they want to further discuss. So there the base lift is 3.6 times. So the machine learning model does identify the right advisors among those that are having no interaction so far in the previous year and the current year. And using this, the sales outreach was able to achieve much better effect. Oh, sorry, revising too fast. So this one is still belonging to a traditional machine learning model application, in this case, classification model, to see who is likely to respond well. Earlier, I would say as a traditional model practitioner, we identified there are some disconnect because of the nature of our application. The machine learning models are ultimately, if you look at the numeric space, it's classification and regression. It's good at predicting numbers. So it probably is good at predicting who is going to buy a lot. It's good at telling you who you should outreach to. So those are both individual units. And we even have internally generated recommendation engine to say, looking at the client portfolio, looking at other clients who look like you but hold other assets, which are the top tickers we think you ought to buy. So those are all in the classification regression use case. What is missing is when you try to give these models to salespeople to leverage, they often demand why or what to speak of. So take the recommendation engine. For any given buying unit or financial advisor, you can get a list of tickers. But it doesn't mean a salesperson can just pick up any ticker and talk about it at length. So first of all, it's not one ticker. Usually you get a few recommendations. And we have thousands of products, which often require product specialists to talk eloquently and go into any depth. So if there are no theme and no thesis around, it is difficult for a salesperson to talk at length. As a result, they may just not act on it. Because we are data scientists, we have no strong leverage over salespeople. We can surface information, we have no ability to force them to act on anything. If it's not intuitive, they're not going to use it, and we cannot show impact. So we basically need mechanism to make the suggestions understandable and intuitive for salespeople, so that our model get used more and they get results through utilizing our model. Fortunately, I think large language model is mostly qualitative. It's not so much quantitative, so it is perfect complement to the traditional machine learning model area. I think there is a lag. Okay, doesn't advance further. So these are just some areas that we have brainstormed on applying large language model for sales productivity. So a lot of it is on content generation. Sometimes it's in marketing space, but salespeople also put together decks on the fly to deliver talking points to particular clients. There are a lot of reporting to management, formal questionnaire filling for clients in form of RFPs, RFIs. All of those content generation could be at least first drafted by large language model, if not entirely completed. Interesting idea is sales training, but usually that require, again, recorded information of historical client sales interaction. If you have all your interaction recorded, you can tag all the talking points, you can analyze whether salespeople are following the correct playbook and what all they mentioned and what client mentioned. But unfortunately, in financial services, I think it's still a very sensitive topic, so most of the calls are not recorded. We're relying on salespeople to write down notes. Other areas of interest, data analysis. So today, most of our users are not sophisticated enough to feel comfortable to query a database. So when they are rich information from clients or from even their own coverage, they rely on CRM system to surface that. But this large language model has the ability to translate English into SQL code if you provide correct information like data schema and past query example and the correct translation. So potentially this would democratize the access to knowledge so that the salespeople can pull up richer information. Sales or sales management can pull up richer information without going to a business analyst or someone who can write SQL. And of course, question answering is the typical use case that you can develop a chatbot to surface it for sales, service, or even your clients. And lastly, product recommendation. This is a bit sensitive. I think the FinRise still doesn't allow financial advice coming from robots, so currently not quite working. Maybe we can surface it through salespeople to make it an internal recommendation bot, and they give the recommendation to clients. So that's all my prepared content. I don't know whether there are time to take questions.
We do not have time for questions. We have a 20-minute